Um, David loved his sheep so much that when he called, excuse me, when he called them, they knew his voice. Other people could try to call them. His brothers could try to, you know, take care of the sheep for the weekend while David goes to the coast or something. I don't know. And they would try to call, and they wouldn't know that brother's voice, and so they wouldn't come. But David's sheep knew his voice, and when he called them, they would come. So many years later, I know we've talked about this at one of the community kitchens before. I think it was the last night that we were there. We had a really, really great discussion about this, and I so wish that we could get together and talk about this instead of me just telling you what I'm telling you. But maybe if you have something to say or questions that you have or whatever, you could shoot me a text or a message in Messenger, an email. Oh heavens, I'm sorry. I don't like that. I'm not bored. I don't know why I'm doing that. I know, because I didn't sleep very well last night. So many years later, when David was a man, he wrote a lot of the Psalms in the Bible. Many, many, many of them were written by David. Oh, there's my cat. Let's see if he continues to howl. Maybe not. So many years later, David was a man. He had become a king. He was the ruler of Israel. He was a warrior. He was much, much more than just a shepherd. But he remembered when he was a shepherd about how he cared for his flock, about how much he loved them. And he was reflecting on God being a shepherd to him and to the people of Israel, but even more personally to him. And he wrote Psalm 23, which is the psalm that I've been talking about over the last few months, trying to, whenever I try to get together with you guys. So I want to talk about the first 3 verses. And I'm going to read it out in a couple different translations. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. I went to a not a Bible study, it was a retreat that a friend of mine who goes to the Vineyard Church in Campbellton, she was leading this Bible study on Psalm 23. And it was based on a book called Trusting God for Everything. And it was like a 2-day retreat, or maybe a Friday evening and all day Saturday retreat. And it was so powerful and it was so good. And this psalm has so much to say. And I'm really excited about what it has to say about God and how he loves us and cares for us. So that's why I wanted to do this with you guys, because it had meant so much to me and I just wanted to share it with you. So I'm going to read the whole thing, and I'm going to read it in a different translation from the one that I just read to you. But I'm going to read the whole song. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. He lets me rest in green meadows. He leads me beside peaceful streams. He renews my strength. He guides me along the right paths, bringing honor to his name. Even when I walk through the darkest of valleys, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff protect me and comfort me. You prepare a feast for me in the presence of my enemies. You honor me by anointing my head with oil. My cup overflows with blessings. Surely your goodness and unfailing love will pursue me all the days of my life, and I will live in the house of the Lord forever. David knew what it was like to care for a flock and to love his sheep. And he believed that God loved us in a similar way as he loved his sheep. David loved his sheep. And we talked about in December, we talked about that first line, the Lord is my shepherd, I have all that I need. And that's a head scratcher. I have all that I need. Really? I do? How does that work? How does that work? Like as followers of Christ, this is the truth of our experience. Maybe it's not the truth of our experience, but it's the truth. It's the truth. We believe as Christians that the Bible is the truth. What it says about life is true. Whether you believe it or not, it's true. And so I have all that I need. So David would have been thinking, as a shepherd, I take care of my sheep and I give them everything that they need. I find them food. I find them water. I find them safe places to lie down. I make sure that they're healthy. And I tend to their wounds. I make sure that they're getting along with other sheep. And there's more in there that may not make sense to you just off the top of off the bat. But we'll go through that. Even as, for me as a believer, like I shared with you guys, I look at my life and I think, do I really have all that I need? Because I think I need a new vehicle because mine's kind of crapping out. The engine light came on today. I've put a lot of money into that vehicle over the last year. I'd like to get rid of it. I'd like to get a newer vehicle. And it's really expensive on gas. So it's like, yeah, I think I need a new vehicle. And there are other things too in my life. I shared with you guys my whole adult life I've wanted to be married. But I've never met anybody who is free to be married and who I want to spend the rest of my life with. So that's always sort of like a dark cloud. That's not really a dark cloud, but so I think about that and I think, do I need it? I'd really like it, but do I need it? Maybe not. It would be nice to be out of debt. I owe money to my brother, and I would like to be out of debt, and I'm working towards becoming debt-free. But yeah, that's something that I would say that I need is money. Don't we all need money? I mean, we all need money to buy groceries and pay the rent and pay hydro, and that's a struggle sometimes, especially now when work situations have shut down across the country. Um, Man, we're in a place of need. Um, Globally, nationally, citywide, family wide, community wide, we're in a place of need. Um, but I want to focus more on what the psalm is saying about the relationship that David has with God, the shepherd. So, what in the world does David mean when he says, I have all that I need? Does he not know what it's like to be human? And as I was doing my research into this psalm and what that line actually means, I came across something that the woman who wrote the book, that the retreat I went to that I told you guys about, her name's Jan Johnson. And I found something online that she had written about this line. And she said something that was really, really interesting to me. She said, maybe what David is saying is that I have everything that I need right here, right now, in this present moment. So I challenge you to look at what you have right here, right now, in this present moment. And I'm sitting in my house, so I have a roof over my head. I've got pork on in the slow cooker to make pulled pork for dinner tonight. So I have food. I'm going to have food in my belly very soon. I had a shower today, so I'm clean, relatively. My bed is right there, and I have a really comfortable bed with clean sheets on it. My health is pretty good right now. I could lose some weight. I could get into shape, but right here, right now, this moment, I'm pretty healthy. I'm breathing. I can stand. I can think. I can sing. Not well, but I can sing. I can go for a walk. I can go down to the beach and collect rocks like Ella's doing with Milo and the other kids. I can smell. I can see. I can hear. I can touch and taste. I have the ability to speak and form sentences and say I love you to you guys. And I miss you all. And I'm so looking forward to being together again. Maybe we don't have everything we need because we live looking to the future. We get into situations in our lives where we're worried about what is going to happen. Like, for example, right now, like this COVID thing. When are we going to see each other again? When are we going to go to the spit and have a barbecue as a family? When are we going to be able to have a potluck dinner? When are we going to be able to do the community kitchen again? When are we going to be able to go shopping? and actually bump into somebody and not feel like we're infecting them or we're going to get infected or it's a difficult situation. Maybe you're unemployed because of this thing and you're wondering, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to get through this? Like, how do you get through something like this? And maybe what this verse is saying is that we can't know what the future is going to hold for us. We can't know when we're going to be able to go shopping with and bump into people or have a picnic at the beach, or do the community kitchen again. We don't know those answers. And we can't really have any control over them because they're not in our control. We have right here, right now, this moment. And we can look at what we have in our lives. We can look at who is in our lives, even if we can't touch them or see them or kiss them or hug them or sit right next to them. Maybe when the time comes when we have to pay our bills, we're gonna have found a way to be able to make some money to do that. Or maybe when the time comes where we want to go to a picnic down at the Spit, that the restrictions will have been lifted enough that we'll be able to do that. We have lots of worries in our lives. Sick children, I know we talked about Betty last summer and fall and not having a home and not being able to find a home, and the worry and frustration and testing that must have been for you, Betty. The challenge to faith, the challenge to believe that I have everything that I need because God says I do. Those are hard things to wrestle through, and the things that we have no control over are hard things to wrestle through, period. And even if you're a believer, you experience hard things that you have to wrestle through, and it just is hard. But as a believer, you can know that God is in it and He's with you and that He's giving you what you need at that moment. And that may not make any sense at all in the moment. You might be just thinking, that's just ridiculous, that's just stupid. And sometimes it does feel ridiculous, and sometimes it feels stupid when you're in the midst of something and you can't figure out, you can't see your way through it. You can't see to the other end of it. But maybe God is saying, you don't have to see to the other end of it because I know what it's going to be like. I know when the end of this is coming. And I am making you ready now, in this moment, to be ready for that moment. But you don't have to live in that moment because you're not there yet. And you don't know what circumstances are going to change between now and then. in order for you to be able to handle that moment. I hope that makes sense. Maybe what I think I need isn't what God thinks I need. I'm going to say that again. Maybe what I think I need isn't what God thinks I need. And I am going to try to put in this video a little 3-minute segment of a YouTube video about the story of Joseph. And many years ago, like 10, 15 years ago or whatever, we did did the story of Joseph in a like Ben and Douglas and a bunch of people. Victoria Wells was in a part of it. Valina Vincent was a part of it. We did a story of Joseph from the Old Testament. But it's such a long story. And I found this video on YouTube the other day, and it's a 3-minute synopsis of the story of Joseph. But it's brilliant. And I'm going to try to bring it in to attach to this part of my video thing here. So I'm going to pause it so that I can get it in there, and then I'll come back.